Hello, everyone. Welcome
Hello.
to our October Unity Worldwide Ministries Tech Team meeting. I'm excited to be back. I heard you had a lot of fun last time, and so we're going to continue our fun today, and I'll start us out in prayer. Let's take a moment as we step back and let the day that has passed thus far, just let's gently let go of everything that might be distracting us or might be still percolating within us. And we're moving into this moment perfectly pure and open to our discussion, our considerations, allowing our experience, a big part of what makes up wisdom, to come into this shared experience so that we can learn from each other and take that learning into our communities and help our communities to move forward with the support and the foundation of awesome technology. We recognize that we all have something to contribute and to put forward, and we appreciate each other for that. And in that, in the name and nature of many of our way showers, we say yes and thank you, and so it is. Amen.
Amen.
All right. So, Lane, remind me again what the topic is for today.
We decided to talk about church management systems.
Okay, and who is going to take the lead on that?
I'm trying to remember who it was that wanted to talk about it. I don't think they're on right now.
Yeah. Isn't it always that way? Always the ones who want to talk about something then never show up to talk about it. It's not true all the time. So, well, then let's see who has a church management system and who would like to share about their experience. Randy?
We're using Planning Center. We migrated to that platform a while ago from Servant Keeper that was never really utilized properly. And knee deep in it. Have not implemented everything, all the capabilities, but it can get expensive, but it's also, you don't have to use all the features. Let's put it that way. And
Yeah.
it seems to meet, it has greater capabilities than what we need, but it also offers a lot of features that I want to engage with that I haven't had a chance to right now.
What do you particularly like about Planning Center?
It's the fact that the payment, that it's structured, its fee structure is based on modules. If there are applications that I don't want, don't need, will never use, I'm not paying for them, unlike a lot of the other features. It integrates very well with Stripe and MailChimp. And from our perspective, it provided us with a seamless way from a Stripe perspective and Planning Center to track and document the donations.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Fully integrated.
So how much do you pay per month for it?
Again, it depends on the modules.
Well, what are you paying?
79, 70 something.
Okay. And so you have obviously member management.
Yes.
What other module do you have?
We have a calendar feature. We have check-ins, giving, which is the donation monitor or donation module, registrations, and services. The services we're using right now for two things. Number one, the order of service, and there's a module within services for music catalogs. So we've got a 2 gig storage capacity right now. So what we do is it tracks, we're uploading slowly our music library of PDFs. And Music Stand within Planning Center has the ability for musicians to make annotations on their versions of the music, and will eventually be going to either iPad or tablets for the musicians, so we're not having to use paper. It's still tedious from the Music Stand from a tracking perspective, in that it doesn't interface with CCS, Christian Copyright Solutions, or Empower Music and Arts for the reporting. But I hope at one point in time I'll be able to use either Bard or ChatGPT to write a module to interface with it and create those. The other things are, I can create a bunch of, if I want to see who's donated, who hasn't donated within a period of time, run some of those metrics. I'm able to do that. One of the other features that I am looking forward to is employing the check-ins module, where instead of right now our process is, when you come into the lobby of the church, you write your name on an adhesive name badge and you stick it on your shirt and you walk in. That way people know each other. You don't have to, but you can. Well, the problem is we don't know who shows up on a Sunday without our memory. Planning Center through check-ins has the ability to either have people check in, kind of sign in on a tablet or a roster. What my implementation, I'm working on the process of it, is we will pre-print a number, whatever that number happens to be, of people that we know that regularly attend, and then create a name badge for them with a barcode, and have like a conference vinyl thing, so that they'll pull their name tag off and they'll scan it on a tablet or whatever, and they wear their name badge and they drop it off on the way out of the sanctuary.
You're clearly not in Texas.
Okay, I don't know what that frame of reference means, but this way,
I don't see ever anyone would be even remotely be willing to do that.
well, we do have a number, but this way I'm able, in my director of operations role, to tell the board, hey, this person hasn't shown up, and it triggers a process where the prayer team can do a wellness call. The metrics that I'm thinking are out of this world.
I mean, yeah, I don't want to go too much into detail at this point, but I totally get it. We've thought we have the capability to with Elvanto, but I'm pretty clear it's a no-go for us because people are not willing. It's kind of like seen as a control issue. Personally, I think I have no issue whatsoever, and I'm absolutely with you. If we would think, unfortunately, Texas thinks more individually than community in a lot of cases. If we think community, that's the way to go, right? That it automatically triggers, hey, this person hasn't been here for 2 or 3 times. That's outside of their usual pattern. And it automatically triggers a wellness call, right?
Yeah.
I love that whole idea, but feasibility is a whole other thing. Yeah.
Understand. And we used to have connection cards. And when you came in, you basically, it was attendance taking is what it was. And we dropped it because the process was never followed, so the person who was responsible for updating the information and servant keeper, it wasn't consistent, so it was worthless information.
Yeah.
And
Hey,
I'm,
Randy, how big is your congregation?
we're starting to build back up. We're around 45 to 65 on a given Sunday.
Which really begs the question, why wouldn't you be able to keep track on who shows up on a given Sunday since your congregation is, family size, basically? Is this really something that you need is that not a volunteer opportunity, for example, like for a team who gets to know the entire congregation and keeps track of that rather than using a system? But that's probably more a philosophical question then.
Yes, and we don't have the maturity, if you will, in getting sufficient volunteers, consistent volunteers who know everyone else and haven't figured how to crack that nut of making those individual connections. Since we've established the historical precedence of write your name on a name badge, stick it on, throw it away on the way out. That's what people are accustomed to. And I'm approaching it from two different perspectives, at least the process. Number one, we used to have the connection card. People didn't seem to have a problem because we're in Florida. Texas is a couple of states away. So they didn't really have too much of a heartburn of filling that out. So I'm bringing that idea back. And it also helps us with first-time people who we can now use that mechanism to do a follow-up call 2 or 3 days later for first-time visitors, rather than, even if it's just a phone call or things like that. So.
Yeah, I'm Swiss. I have no issue with that. As far as I'm concerned, the doors wouldn't even open unless you have your name tag with the barcode. You're not allowed in the church until you're checked in, and we know exactly how much money you gave over the next 7 months, and that you catch up. I have no issue with that, but I live in Texas now, so I have to make adjustments. So let's check in. Planning center, so that's one option. Any other church management systems that are used?
Well, this is Cheryl. We don't use it really like you guys are using. We use Icon for a lot of things. I don't know if you're familiar with Icon. It gears more toward the accounting and money standpoint, but you can also keep your membership in there and all like that. So, but there's no way we would use it for attendance and things like that. Our congregation's small enough to where we know if somebody doesn't show up, but that's what we use for our accounting. When we have to print out a list of our members, that's what we use, because that you can designate member or non-member and that kind of thing.
Yeah, but you're basically using a donation management system as your membership management system.
Correct.
Right? So,
Yes.
but then you're really limited to very few functions. So you wouldn't be able to do campaigns or service planning or anything like that.
Right.
Okay. And for smaller communities, if that works, why not? I mean, QuickBooks has the same thing. You can set up QuickBooks in a way that you can have your members are customers, right? And then you have your management system there, because ultimately what you really want to do is you want to be able to press a button in the beginning of the year to send out the donation records, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Any other church management systems? Just want to see what everyone is working with. No? So it's Randy, we have Elvanto. Ron?
We use it's old and it's problematic, but we're used to it. And I didn't start that. I mean, the church has been having it for a long time, and I've been looking at using other things. But we use Power Church to keep up with giving and a database of membership. We keep it up to date, and we can keep, and we were keeping attendance. Does anybody, with Randy, with what you were saying, 3 years ago, the 3 years, let's see, it was 2008. No, it was before that, maybe almost 5 years ago. The bylaws with the UWM bylaws, quote, required us, quote, required, you know what that means in Unity, to keep track of records of people's involvement in the church. If they gave money, the bylaws said that you have to give money, you have to attend a certain number of events. There was that kind of language in the bylaws. We actually changed it to match the UWM template. Well, nobody liked that. They didn't like nobody. That went away. So that's gone from the bylaws. It's gone from the UWM template. So we don't track attendance every Sunday. There is a sign-in sheet, and most people sign it. I mean, it's a sign-in sheet that my office manager prepares. That's mostly the people that come regularly, and there's a place for visitors. And all you do is put a check mark by side if you come in. We did away with name tags a long time ago. I don't know if it was some seminar or webinar or somebody said don't do name tags in churches. So that's been going a long time ago. So we're out of that mode of doing name tags. Some people just don't want to wear it. So then you got this, a polarization of some people have name tags, some don't. So I'll tell people from the pulpit, even, I say, look, I'm older demographic, and I don't remember your name all the time. Now that's even coming from me. So if I come up to you and ask your name, and I've asked you 2 or 3 times, please don't take offense. It's my problem, not yours. And I said, and you have the permission to do that with everybody else in the congregation. The only way we know is if we ask. If there's so much drama surrounded by not asking people's name if we've forgotten. So anyway, that's what I've done. So we keep up, but we do keep Power Church for the tithing records, and the database of names, addresses, and all that. That's what we use it for. And then we use QuickBooks, all of our financials on QuickBooks, and Power Church is what we use currently now for online donations. We have very few of those. Most people that give regularly either do it directly through their bank account. We do have a few 4 or 5 that come, donate regularly on PayPal, but that's it. So PayPal, Power Church, and QuickBooks is how we manage. I'm anxious to hear what other people do, because I'm anxious to do something better and something a little more integrated.
So I'm posting the church management system page that Sean Sweet did quite some time ago. So it might no longer be up to date, but he did like a comparison chart on various church management systems. And so if you haven't seen this, I will probably bookmark this link and just
Good. Thank you.
Go and look at it. I know that Breeze has done a lot. Actually, the company that owns Elvanto tightly bought up Breeze, so they own now both. And we have been looking into switching from Elvanto to Breeze, but we would lose some of the functionality that we're using. Like we have our entire service is organized through the service planner, including volunteer management and song management and all that. And Breeze doesn't provide. I think Planning Center is the only other church management system that would be comparable. But I think we will pay so much for what we have with Elvanto that's kind of integrated in a monthly fee with lots of other stuff, that it wouldn't make sense for us to make that change. But maybe with Tively owning both El Vanto and Breeze, maybe there is a place for Breeze to be expanded. I hear that a lot of churches are very happy with Breeze because it's I think it's $50 and you have access to everything. So
That's
Ron,
fif-
if you don't mind,
That's
when you-
$50 a month for a subscription.
I think it's up to 65 now,
is
but
it?
yes, that's 65 for subscription. You can send emails and texts through it. You can manage groups, manage attendance, all that kind of stuff. The only thing that we have now that we would not be able to continue doing in Breeze is planning our services.
No.
I wanted to ask Ron, and your QuickBooks, are you running QuickBooks Desktop or QuickBooks Online?
Desktop.
Well, did you hear what they were saying one time?
We are too. We're looking at switching over to online.
QuickBooks, yeah, we've been using QuickBook online since I started. I would never go back. This
This is something I inherited, and
if you have a bookkeeper that swears on the desktop version, you almost have to fire the bookkeeper and find someone else, or basically tell them either you switch with us or we give our business somewhere else. It's ridiculous. Like on the regional side, everything is desktop, and it's driving me nuts because right now I can log in at any time for Unity Fort Worth and can pull up the reports and pull up the data I need whenever I want. I don't have to coordinate with the bookkeeper or the accountant. They're all working on their own, right? But whenever I have to do something on the regional end, I have to send an email. It's not a big deal, because there's not as much going on, but the flexibility of QuickBooks Online is awesome. Absolutely.
I asked several people within various regions about the difference between desktop and online. And I don't mean to go down this tangent. And I was told by each of the financial people, oh, you got to stay with desktop. Desktop's the only way to go because it does everything that it's supposed to do, and online sucks and it won't treat you like anything. And I attended a webinar hosted through TechSoup and for nonprofits, and it was from a CPA, and he said, if you're a church and you're using desktop, get with the program. He wasn't trying to sell anything, but yeah, I've already bought a license for through TechSoup, and it was $75 a year as opposed to the $300.
Yeah.
And we are in the midst of moving buildings or moving to our new space this week, and I just haven't had a chance to. That's taken a switching QuickBooks is not on the agenda this week.
And it's quite a monstrous task. So we're
going to outsource it to the company to have them for $400. They're going to go through our desktop, our files, our folders, and make some suggestions on what needs to be fixed. And then we're going to pay them another $400 to do the migration, to make the fixes and the migration.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
They're professionals, so it's
We've done it, and I would love to hear your story.
okay. We know that we don't have the expertise, and I'd rather have somebody else do it.
Yeah, Randy, you mentioned that the reason I've been in spiritual leader, now minister for 5 years, a little over 5 years, and I've wanted to go to QuickBooks Online because I used that before I came into the ministry. I was had an engineering business, and I used QuickBooks Online in my business. I did pay a bookkeeper to help me set up chart of accounts and some of that engineer versus accountant type thing. engineers and accountants think differently. So, but I've encouraged my bookkeeper and an accountant, separate accountant. We don't use her very often, but both of them, just like you say, both of them are stay with the desktop version, don't go online. So
Yeah.
So I'm still working on that.
I mean, and here is, it's not for everyone, but sometimes I really feel like the reason why they want to stay with desktop is because it's a business decision for them. Because if they can keep it on their desktop, then they're in control of your data. But if you're switching online, they're no longer in control of your data. You can switch bookkeepers from 1 minute to the other, right? And I'm wondering if that is part of the hesitancy as well, in addition to not wanting to deal with desktop and online, that because we have that same thing going on. I've been designing and building websites since 1994. And when my wife and I decided to switch to Squarespace and no longer build the website, like on a separate server, and you had to lock the client in, like with WordPress and all that, it was really interesting to see whenever I suggested, why don't you just use Squarespace or Weebly or whatever, and just stop being so dependent on your developer. And those churches that had actually have done the switch, they said, I'm so glad, because I have so much control over what I actually have access to, versus always have to call someone. Like often they use WordPress, but they spend sometimes thousands of dollars a year just to make little tiny updates, while as it's easily integrated now for us. And I have a feeling with QuickBook Desktop and QuickBook Online, it's kind of like a similar situation, which is understandable.
John Marie, I remember several years ago, I was more involved with that at the church. It seems like at that time there were some features that were a little harder to use on online than on desktop. And I'm sure over the years that's been straightened out, whatever it was. But I just wonder if some of this hesitancy of people to go to the online is because of that was kind of the word that was out back early on and all that.
Yeah, I heard that argument for years, and it just no one ever could, it's the same old thing. Oh, I might not have a feature. Well, do you actually use the feature? No, but, right? It's the same discussion. People like PC, people like Mac. I find people who like Mac are quite okay not having all the tools and everything available, and people who like PC sometimes like that they have everything. I don't know. Who knows? This is all generalization. And I always had resistance when I first started at Unity Fort Worth and said, we're going online. There was a huge resistance for no reason whatsoever. Absolutely no reason.
The one thing that solidified it for me was we had a power spike, Florida Power and Light, and it blew out our local file share, where our data was backed up, and we lost about 45 days worth of data, and that sealed the deal for me. Anything and everything that I can get off of individual desktops, I am. And Intuit, being a Fortune 300 company, is going to take the time to make sure that the data integrity and access is there, rather than me trying to do anything local here. And that, for me, that was another.
So, yeah, speaking of backup,
I'm sorry?
Rewind.com is how you back up your QuickBooks Online. because, you know, whenever you go with a cloud version, there is this philosophy, you know, do you want to just trust your provider that they are doing backups, and whenever they have a data loss that they are able to recover your data, or do you go 100% sure and say, I better back it up separately, so I have a backup of whatever the online version is. It's $15 a month, I think, and it just backs up all our data. But of course, it's an extra expense.
We're using,
What's the name again?
Rewind, it's in the link, it's in the chat, the link. Rewind.
we bought Carbonite for right now.
Yeah, but that doesn't back up the QuickBooks Online.
Oh, no, because we got the desktop, but
Yeah.
we're backing up those.
Yeah, I'm talking about, and you know, I'm talking about cloud stuff. So the same thing goes if you work with Google Workspace, which we have been for many years now, which is absolutely free for nonprofit. You can't really effectively back it up with the software that's available through Google. You know, even with Google Drive Space or something, as soon as it's Google Docs, there is some issues with actually backing up. So I would look into that. There is a backup company that we are using who is capable of backing up everything, and it's called let me see, I have to switch real quick over. And this is just for, and they're fairly inexpensive, at least they haven't asked me for too much money. I only back up the super admin account. It's called SysCloud Security. I'll put it in the chat. Can't hold on, SysCloud. So just that you know, so because we have two cloud backup systems. I have a cloud backup system that backs up Google Drive and Dropbox stuff. But then I realized that they are actually not able to back up any Google Sheets, Google Docs, Google Slides, or something because of the way the Google system works. So that's something that you need to be aware of. SysCloud solves that problem. And what I do is I use the super admin account that pays for like 1 terabyte of data, because we store a lot of data on our cloud system. And then I have SysCloud just backing up that one administrator account, because we don't really need to back up the individual accounts, because all we would really gain is backing up their emails. And we said, okay, if we lose those emails, who cares? But it's, so this is just something to consider, and ties back into the discussion of church management system. If you have it on your computer, traditional, then Carbonite, Dropbox, or anything that does a backup of your data offline is probably useful. But if you have a cloud system, you need to make sure that actually your backup of the cloud system is capable of doing the full backup.
We have been using, pretty much since I became spiritual leader, we have been extensively using Microsoft OneDrive. And there are a couple of really, really great advantages of using Microsoft OneDrive. For one thing, if you have one paid account with lots and lots of storage, you can have several smaller accounts, the free accounts that, well, things like PowerPoint on Sunday morning. I save my PowerPoint on Sunday morning to OneDrive. That's on an account with lots and lots of storage. But then the computer that we run the PowerPoint on, that only has a freeware version of OneDrive and PowerPoint, and it can display that PowerPoint presentation free of charge. and we can put that just about any document of any kind. I run my songbook with the library of music. I back that up on OneDrive. All of my talks, I can share financial reports to all of my board members and anybody else who cares to. I can share that on OneDrive, all of it for free.
You're still paying for the Microsoft suite.
Well, there's a great deal that you can do without pay. I do have one paid account, and that allows you to do things like download the various Microsoft apps, but you don't need to download the Microsoft apps onto your computer if all you're going to do is use it from the cloud. You can do Word, Excel, PowerPoint, all of the big Microsoft names, not Access, but most of the things that you use on a daily basis is completely free with the free account. The only reason that I have one paid account is so that I can actually install Microsoft Word or PowerPoint on a computer. I just find it a little easier to work with, but you don't really need it. And the extra storage that comes with a paid account. I think it's 1 terabyte for a basic.
There is also a nonprofit program with Microsoft where you can get free accounts, up to 10 free accounts and a terabyte of storage.
Yeah.
Last time I checked.
Can you send me more? I keep seeing
I'll put a link in the chat so you can look into it.
Yeah.
I mean, Microsoft has the nonprofit discount where you can get a lot of stuff for free. I personally have terrible experience with OneDrive because the school, the university I'm doing my dissertation with, they force us to use OneDrive, and it just doesn't work. And but that's everyone's choice. So
even if you need other things, I think it pays to get to know OneDrive and get to know Microsoft 365 as the umbrella that contains OneDrive.
yeah.
Kevin, have you been working with SharePoint?
I had worked with SharePoint at the university before I became spiritual leader full-time.
Okay.
But and there are some challenges. SharePoint is basically the big institutional version of OneDrive, and it has a lot of features that OneDrive doesn't have.
Right. I'm looking at using SharePoint here eventually in the next couple of months, in a couple of different capacities, not only for collaboration within the ministry, but also for publishing the policies and procedures and all of the business of the ministry behind it, so that board members can access it from wherever on the policies and the procedures, and the volunteers will have access to it. So I just didn't know if you had gotten that far yet on it yet.
Yeah, like I say, SharePoint and OneDrive, I don't know why they even called them two different things. SharePoint is the university or the big organization version of OneDrive, and it adds features like, okay, I can automatically approve anybody who has this kind of account. If I have a universityofnebraska.org, if you have that kind of account, then you automatically have access to this, and this, and this. You can still apply, you can still grant permissions to other people outside of your organization, but you can add rules like that you have to you can say, if you log in and access this document, then you must have this level of antivirus protection on your computer and things like
Rule-based, yeah, or rule-based access, yeah.
Yeah.
Were you at UNL or?
I was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was an IT manager for a department in the College of Education.
Okay.
And
All
it was in that capacity that I really fell in love with the Microsoft 365 suite. Even if you get the free version, it's worth it.
Unless you're at Google
I
Workspace.
beg to differ, but that's.
I do use Google for some things. I do use the Google suite of apps for some things, but the
I
rest.
don't want to. I want to turn this into Microsoft versus Apple versus Google war. Let's go back to church management system. You know, because it doesn't really, it doesn't really matter regarding church management system which thing you use, and if you're happy with Microsoft, power to you, right? So what else, going back to church management, what else is being used? So we have Elvanto, we had Servant Keeper mentioned, which we used before Elvanto. By the way, Lane, would you agree with me? We do not recommend Elvanto whatsoever, right?
No.
The learning curve.
It's a cheaper alternative to Planning Center, but Planning Center is, in my opinion, superior on all of the features that it offers in the interface. Elvanto is fairly complicated to learn.
Yeah, it's a huge learning curve. I would never go back and do it again. They oversold it to us to such a degree where it was ridiculous. It's a beast, and we can do a lot. We actually organize the regional organization and Unity Fort Worth with one system, and it works quite well. And it's a powerful thing to do, and that's why we most likely won't switch. But
well, looking at the Breeze page that you posted, they are about to come out with service planning, so
yeah, we might. But just losing all the data, and then they say, oh, we're doing the migration. This is why I want to hear back from you, Randy, because they make all these promises with migration, and then you lose so much data probably every single time you migrate anything. And then anything they can't integrate, then they just send you like a CSV file and said, here's your data, kind of. I mean, we had, so Breeze is probably a really good, for someone who's never used a church management system before, is probably not a bad starting point. And considering doing a service planner, that really depends. We have, because the way we are organized, we have platform chair team, we have a music team, we have a volunteer coordinator. Everyone works with the same tool. So everything our checking system for the YFM works through the same system. We could do the checking system with the barcode, but unless I tattoo the barcode on everyone's forehead, I don't think I'm going to have any luck with that.
Well, let me ask you this. If you're using it for your youth and family ministries, do the kids have name badges, or are your volunteers trained to make sure that little Johnny or Jill only get picked up by folks? Is that a procedural thing, or is that something that?
It's procedural.
Okay. And that's one of the things that I saw in Planning Center, that we are just not even close, that there are specific codes that the parents receive when they check in their kids. And your A kid is not released unless you have the right code.
Are we going that far, Lane?
Yes.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, we
when we
have-
check the kids in, it prints out a label.
So
And that label
Lucy-
has a code on it. The parent also gets a label with the same code, and they have to show that label, and then they're matched, and then the kid is released.
Okay,
we're very strict on that. We have very strict IFM policies.
Yeah.
Which makes it sometimes hard to get volunteers and to even, have the families be in line. So it has downsides when you're being strict, but no, and how much was the label maker? We just bought like $200.
It's one of those Dymo ones, so it's like $250.
Yeah. So it's really, you print out the label every Sunday. So you're not keeping because the code is always different, right?
yeah, for something, and again, we've not gone, our YFM department is not that big at all. But it was one of the features that was there, not that it sold me, it was the other aspect to it that,
We definitely have overkill when it comes to,
Yeah.
Our YFM department is very small, but I think it's because we are such a small staff, it just adds this extra layer of, being 100% sure that we're doing the right thing. So, yeah. And I don't know, has Breeze should have a
They
check-in.
do have
checkout.
a similar check-in system. Actually, their interface is a lot better than Alvanto.
Yeah. And then what else? The servant keeper, their issue really was that they were trying to go online, but they're still operating like a desktop system. That's why we moved away. I would definitely not recommend servant keeper. And then what's the other one? The massive one that is trying to catch up with everyone else. Hey, Ron, is yours called Rock RMS?
Rock, what is,
Rock RMS.
no, we don't use that.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. I was just curious because that's one of the recommendations that Sean had.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else on church? For those of you who don't have a church management system but would like to move into one, do you have any questions?
Well, I looked on the link. I've been looking at for Tidely and Breeze, and I forget what else I was looking at. I've got a list of several that I've talked to, but I noticed Breeze. You mentioned $50. I see on the Breeze on the homepage on the page there that it's $72. $72 a month. Does that sound right?
Well, yeah, Lane has the latest on that. The last time
Last I saw it was 65, but it's probably gone up if they're adding new features to it. Since Tidely bought it, they've added a few key features to it, and that's why we see price increases.
It looks like $72 per month.
And that's just way too much for our size church. It seems like right now. But I may change my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are, because we are in the Tidely environment, we used to pay only $99 a month, but have access to everything, like apps, website stuff and all that, which we still use Squarespace. We never made the transition. What's good about the Tidely environment, if you need help with website, a church app for the phone, which is what we want to develop. We want to actually move away from website and go more to the app experience, because it seems like, especially for the older folks, that's just a lot easier to use, to open the church app and have access to the different services rather than having to navigate a website. But right now, we're really only using Alvanto, really. And we have a massive load of data. It will be such a big job for us to switch even. So any questions on church management systems?
I had a question for you. So you don't use any of the Microsoft Office products. You stay with the Google Suites.
No, we do. I mean, we have an account with them, just in case we do need Word once in a while. But actually, we work more and more with Google Docs, Google Sheets, and Google Slides because of the that their collaboration is a lot better integrated than, with Microsoft. But it's a challenge, those who are so steeped into Microsoft and the old way of working, they want like a Word document, they download the Word document and then they're doing their changes and then they're sending it over. It's very hard to get those old folks to actually say, here's a link to the document, let's all work together.
Yeah.
Now, within staff, we're doing this, we use like one document, we all work together, everyone can see the changes, and I know Microsoft can do that too. And yeah, it's a lot simpler to use, it's not this massive thing. And I'm clearly not a Microsoft fan. I honestly will ban it from our computers if I could, but I just it's so, and then there's the downside of Google Docs, Sheets, and Slides, which I explained before, that it exists in the cloud environment, and the backup, you have to get the proper backup, which I think is a downside. But then there's the other side, I think the Google Drive environment is absolutely incredible. We can control access down to the minuscule type of thing, which I'm sure OneDrive can do too. But what really allows us we were able to buy the cheapest Mac Minis in order to run our live stream, because all the data that we need to have backed up, that's just on the cloud. We don't need it on the actual hard drive. So we can actually keep our data, our computers relatively clean, other than for the application. I think that really helps with some of the investment too, rather than having to, keep all the files and everything on the computer, and then you start investing in that. So yeah.
Okay.
The church management is a tough one. It's a tough, once you choose one, and they know this, right? They all know this. Once they get you to choose one, it's so hard to move. How many times have we talked about this, Lane, to switch away from Elvanto because we are sick and tired of it?
Oh, I think I've done like 3 Breeze trials at this point, trying to find a way that we can switch to them, but
Yeah.
it just hasn't worked out yet.
So for us, Elvanto is like this little tiny bug that you just can't get rid of. It's similar to Microsoft. You want to swat it away, but you just can't because you need it at some point. Yeah.
Well, at least, Jean-Marie, you didn't equate Microsoft to a tumor as opposed to a bug. So
no, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's here to stay. There's no way. Fortunately, I don't have to deal with the Microsoft universe, the OS and all that, because that will be the death of me. Don't
sugarcoat it. How do you really feel?
When I first started at Unity Fort Worth, they wanted to give me like I think it was a 10-year-old desktop with Microsoft 7 on it, or Windows 7 on it.
I still got a few of those. Do you want it?
And I said, I'm going to use my Mac, and I've been using my private computer since the very beginning. I just said, you deal with your PCs, not me. So what are we going to, we're almost out of time. What are we going to talk about next time? Was that helpful at all?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
And I'm
we do.
sure, if you have any more questions, Ron or anyone, or if you want to continue the debate of OneDrive versus Google Drive, you can use Facebook for that. It won't bother me because I no longer am on Facebook. And no, but seriously, I mean, raising these questions in the Facebook group, anyone who watches the recording too, that's the whole idea. I hope we can have some fun with the whole Microsoft, Apple debate and Google and all that. Whatever we choose, I think is just going to be fine because ultimately we are the ones who have to deal with it, right?
Yeah.
And so it's important that it works for us. So what else? What's the next topic next month? I have an idea,
Okay.
and that will be fun for Eldon. So as most of you know, we are selling the church, and we have a buyer. We have the contract signed at this point, and we're due to move out by January 15. So we're getting to, but there's a long road until we're getting there, right? So the contract is signed, but there's lots of stuff that goes in between. But from a technological point of view, we're now challenged with a couple of things. One is we're thinking of going into a temporary space and maybe share it with another church. And we looked at now a couple, and they have their own setup, and now we need to understand how can we integrate our own setup. So one of the tasks I've given Eldon to kind of like start on, the poor guy is in retirement, but really can't retire as long as he's part of our community, is to take that entire system that takes up a lot of space and put it into a rack system. And one of the challenges that we also look at is to make it completely portable, which may be of interest of some of you, to actually have a system that is portable enough to, if you ever wanted to do like a special service, like outside or somewhere else, or go somewhere and take it with you, maybe have a retreat or something, and you want to take your system with you and then have a relatively easy time to set up. So that might be a topic to engage in a little bit, if that's of interest.
That sounds like a great topic. I've certainly spent years doing church in a box. And when I walk into our church now and throw the master switch and everything comes on, I am so grateful.
Yeah. So we are working on that. By we, I mean Eldon and maybe some of us. And I think that we already have some ideas and, some little tools that might be really for your interest as well. Getting some flexibility in terms of being independent of wireless systems that might break down and things like that. Sounds good?
Yes, that would be great.
All right.
John Marie, just for your information, this coming Sunday is our last Sunday in our building. We're going to be schlepping things over. We sold our 16,000 square foot building, and we're moving into a 7,000 square foot leased space.
Yeah.
And we're having to do once the service is over.
We might throw that one in, your experience of moving, right? Because that might be something that affects all of us at some point. How do we move technology?
Yeah, that's
the
what I'm dealing with
most
right now.
the most successful way.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, congratulations on your sale.
Huh?
Congratulations on your sale.
Well, we don't have the money yet, so congratulate us once we have the money. So
our check cleared.
Once I see the money in the account, then I go. All right, good to see everyone. Have a great month. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.